Scotland weathered an Irish storm and came through for a convincing win. My name's Mark, let's talk rugby. So we really saw where these two teams are, I think, in this game. Ireland, they have improved through the tournament, but just nowhere near where they need to be really to be competitive in this competition. Tons of work to do. They need a lot more support from the RFU as well. They do open the scoring though from the tee. Dana O'Brien slotting penalty after Scotland were pinged at the breakdown. So it's 3-0 to Ireland. Ireland then seems like they're playing with more confidence, a bit more pace on the ball. We've got the likes of Friday, Monaghan, Jogang, and Moore, all with some good carries. Scotland are finding it hard to get their hands on the ball. They're making mistakes when they do as well. I have to say it's absolutely great atmosphere in the ground as well. I think it was like a record for the tie between these two as well in Scotland. Scotland then begin to work their way into the game. They're putting the ball through the hands. Raleigh and Grant make half breaks. But at this stage, the game is being played largely between both 22s, but it is a real contest, and it feels like that first try is going to be crucial in the game. Ireland, they're looking far more fluid with ball in hand compared to earlier rounds, but in the earlier rounds, they just looked static and pedestrian, and there's some good link play between backs and forwards. You can see that it's still very early days for their attack. They still have to develop that a lot further. Scotland having some success at slowing the Irish ball down. Then Scotland kick long and Delaney runs it back. She sells a nice dummy and then pops inside to Aoife Doyle. I'm thinking if Ireland can get in behind, it feels like a score could be on the card, but they're kind of struggling to actually get that. They're struggling to actually get in behind. It's kind of breaking on the fringes, but there's they're kind of being crowded out and stuff like that. Then Macmillan bursts up the wing for Scotland, and it's their turn on attack. Ireland's breakdown work kills their momentum, and then Jones gets over the ball to win a penalty. Niamh Jones has been great for Ireland. The amount of tackles and turnovers from her really have helped out a lot in terms of trying to keep them in games. And again, in this one, we then see some great hands from Ireland as they come back into the Scottish half. They look, almost unrecognisable compared to the team that started the tournament. But again, they're still not looking like world beaters. They're just looking so much better than that team that started that played the game against Wales. But still, looking better at least. Ireland, though, line out, it was an issue earlier on in the game, and it functions for a little while, but then later on then goes away from them again. But at this stage, it's helping them to pin Scotland into their own half. Monaghan managed to charge down McDonald's box kick, then Jogang, she kicks it through and brings the play up to the 22. Then Nick Bird with a good carry deep into the 22. Scotland get pinged for not releasing and feel like this is a great chance for Ireland. They decide to kick it to the corner. From the line, then Friday claims it. She pops the ball down to another pod. They drive over the line, but Scotland managed to hold them up. Great work from Macmillan there to get in under and make sure that it wasn't a try. Scotland then tried to clear from the back of the scrum, but Nelson's kick is charged down. Scotland, though, they retain the ball and they do manage to kick clear. Skeldon then comes up with a crucial penalty for Scotland at the breakdown. And, Ireland, they were looking to press their advantage, but that was a big turnover for Scotland at that stage. They then work it back up into the Ireland 22. We have some great carries from Orr and Malcolm. MacDonald then gets to within a few meters, but they get pinged for playing it on the ground. Basically, she tried to go again, but didn't actually get up to her feet. Ireland kick it clear from the penalty, but then they knock on at the line out as their woes there resurface again. Scotland attack from the scrum and they have a period of possession on the edge of the Ireland 22. Then we have one good Maisie run from Raleigh. They work it further into 22 and Ireland ping for not rolling away. Scotland go to the corner. They're beginning now to apply the pressure, set up the maul. Ireland almost drive them into touch, but Scotland managed to get it out of the maul, get it in field to Smith, and she goes over to score. Nelson drags her conversion across the post, and we're at 5-3, and that is our halftime score. And I think that score for Scotland there kind of showed the difference between the teams. Ireland with so much possession, and they had chances as well, but just could not produce anything other than that early penalty. Whereas Scotland, they got the chance and they took it into the second half. Then Scotland strike again early in that second half. They set them all again from a line out, and Skeldon breaks off and she goes over to score. Nelson misses the conversion, but it's 7-3. Then Ireland, they're camped on the Scotland line. They're forcing penalties, tried them all over a couple of times, and then they spread it, and Friday gets over to score, is inverted by O'Brien, and we're all square at 10 all. But then Scotland, they hit back immediately. Smith, elusive run, gets them deep into 22. Bartlett then drives over from close range. Nelson converts this one 17-10. Ireland then, they're looking to get back to the position, but again, line out malfunctions and give away a penalty then at the scrum as well. Fran McGee then scores just a wonder try for Scotland. They're on attack, don't seem to be going anywhere, but then they get the ball out to her. She shows searing pace to go, first of all, outside the edge of the Irish defence, and then cut back inside and go past the cover defence there as well to score under the post. She just looked like the Irish backs were standing still compared to her. Really great try from her. That's the bonus point for them as well. Converted by Nelson, 24-10. Scotland then have a try chalked off for a knock-on, but we go back for a Scotland penalty. They go with pick and goes close to the line, get another penalty advantage, but they don't need it because Malcolm goes over to score. Nelson converts this one from the touchline, 31-10. There's time then for Rowley to get a final try for Scotland. They're basically besieging the Ireland line again. Clock is in the red. And then Raleigh, they get it out to her and she goes over to score. Nelson misses the conversion. Final score is 36-10. Okay, let's have a quick look at some of the stats. So possession, 51% for Scotland, 49% for Ireland. Territory, 56-44 in favour of Scotland. So Ireland, in the early periods of the first half, they were the ones in control of both possession and territory, but couldn't really do that much of it. Then Scotland, towards the end of that first half and then into the second half, started to take control. We saw them having more of the ball and being in Ireland's half a lot more as well. I think the contrast when we look at the next stat, points per 22 visits, 3 for Scotland, 1.8 for Ireland, just shows that when Scotland did have that control and were in the right positions, they were scoring a lot more often than Ireland were able to. Then next thing we look at is handling errors, 11 for Scotland, 20 for Ireland. Ireland, I said that they look more fluid in attack, but that is coming from a very low base where they started, in this tournament. So they've improved, but it doesn't mean that they're world beaters. There's still a lot to be done. We saw a lot of moves breaking down with either poor passes or knock-ons or stuff like that as well. So definitely needs to be worked on. What I worry about is where like what kind of mechanism is there now that the Six Nations is over to get the team ready for the WXB. They're going to be in the third tier, which is not going to be great for the development anyway. But like, where, how are they going to work on that between now and then? Because like some of the players play in England, some of them play for the provinces and in the like with kind of AIL and stuff. But how are we going to are we gonna have a camp before then or whatever? What's gonna happen? Like, there's no real. I don't feel like there's enough support for the women's game to be confident to know that it's gonna get fixed anytime soon. I think it's maybe it's gonna be during the WX15 they look or WXV sorry they might look great because they're against poorer opposition, but then we don't know when they come back to the Six Nations next year whether they're going to be starting basically at the level that they're at now, or whether they'll have actually progressed by then. So we'll have to see what happens there. Next, then scrums, 100% for both teams. Ireland did give away one scrum penalty, but scrum has been a positive for them for most of the tournament. I think it's the one area where you can see that it's obviously getting worked on. It's obviously getting better. Scotland actually did well because their scrum was struggled at times during the tournament, but when they were put under pressure, they actually held their own pretty well too. So good to see that from them. Then lineouts. So lineouts won 11 for Scotland and 12 for Ireland. Looking at that, you think, oh well, both lineouts went fairly well, but we've no success stats. There is on the Women's Six Nations stats page a hooker success percentage, but for every game it's 0. So I don't know what's going on. Either they're not collating that stat, or whoever is collating it is putting it in the wrong part of whatever database that feeds into the website, so that therefore the website doesn't show the right figure. But yeah, we know that Ireland's lineout struggled. Friday, in fairness to her, has taken so many lineouts during the tournament, but it's not just up to her, it's a unit, and they've got to work on that. They've also got to get more genuine options for jumpers as well, to make sure that there's less pressure on Friday, more variation, and less chance for the opposition to get up and disrupt as well. But Scotland's lineout, for the most part, went fairly well. They had a few kind of struggles themselves, but overall, I think when they had important lineouts, generally they made a stick as well. Last one then is penalties. 12 conceded for Scotland, 10 for Ireland. Scotland, they gave away the penalties, but Ireland just could not capitalise on that, whereas I felt Scotland, when Ireland gave them penalties, especially once they got their first try, they got themselves in positions and they were able to use it, and either a succession of penalties would lead to a try, or they'll get one off one penalty that they kicked to the corner. In terms of where the two teams are from here, I'm going to talk a bit more about Ireland because I'm Irish and I know a little bit more about what the hell is going on with the Irish thing, and I'm just really frustrated and annoyed about the lack of leadership from the RFU in terms of coming out and setting out to stall for what they actually want to do with the women's game, in terms of concrete things like, we're going to put this in place and that in place, and we're going to have this and we're that, and we're going to support them this way and that way. We're not hearing any of that. But yeah, Ireland, they couldn't take their chances in that first half, and they couldn't kick on either when they got back level in that second half. Lineout, as I said, is a big area of concern. Phase play looked better, but still needs a hell of a lot more work. And I think like they still need to develop their attacking game as well, so that they're a real threat when they're in possession, for the carries, because you know just so much that has to be done for that team, like um, stuff like having dummy runners, or just coming on the ball a bit more pace, zipping that pass out a bit more, having the handling skills to be able to play that game when you get in behind, then players coming and supporting, and not just kind of coming behind in order to clear a ruck. We never see a break from Ireland where you've got options either side for the pass or the offload, or just even to sell a dummy to try and get a bit further. So tons of work to do. They deserve the wooden spoon. I don't think anybody would disagree with that. And I don't think anybody would disagree with the statement that the players have given their all as well for this. It's not on their backs. It's on the backs of those who are supposed to be, preparing them properly for tournaments and getting them in a position to be able to compete. I think they've failed in that regard, but the players have done the best they can. As I said, they're in the third tier of the WXB now, and I just hope like that somebody in the RFU is going to step up and take some responsibility and just start sorting the mess out. Scotland created chances well, I felt. Crucially finished them off as well, where Ireland couldn't. They finish fourth and they qualify for the WXB Tier 2, and that is well deserved from them, because I thought that, they had a tough start to the tournament, but they did get better as it went on, and results show that as well. And to have such a long run, losing streak, they break that against Italy, and then they get 2 on the bounce as well. So, fair play to them. They seem to be moving in the right direction.